Good afternoon. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission. I call this meeting of the Commission to order on April 11th, 2024 at 1:03 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Peritic.
Present.
Commissioner Carrion.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway here in Lansing. We are also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Teams. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button on the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website, however. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov, and for reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comments as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and one per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or by calling into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, please fill out a comment card. They're available on the front table there. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the raise hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. And for individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. Public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order they enter the speaker queue. And so please do not lower your hand or press *5 again, or you'll be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. To minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
I move for the approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 15, 2024 Commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the March 15, 2024 Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the March 15, 2024 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The Commission meeting minutes of March 15, 2024 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda, and I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 1 communications matter, 6 electric matters, 4 gas matters, and 1 steam matter. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A1 is case number U-20437, which involves an application filed by Time Clock Solutions, LLC, for a permanent license to provide basic local exchange service. The order before you grants the license but requires Time Clock Solutions, LLC, to file quarterly and semi-annual status reports.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20437.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20437 is approved. Recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B1 is case number U-20805, which involves an application filed by Indiana Michigan Power Company for authority to reconcile its power supply cost recovery plan costs and revenues for the 12-month period ended December 31st, 2021. The order before you approves the application as modified by the order.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20805.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20805 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B2 is case number U-21081, which involves an application filed by Upper Michigan Energy Resources Corporation requesting ex parte approval of a purchase and sale agreement with Renegade Solar Energy LLC, as well as the planned engineering, procurement, and construction agreement with Invenergy Construction Services LLC. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21081.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21081 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B3 is case number U-21090, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company requesting ex parte approval of a power purchase agreement with Tibbetts Energy Storage LLC. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21090.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, actually, I'd just like to note that this is the first energy storage power purchase agreement that we at the MPSC have approved. This facility is a lithium-ion battery project with 100 megawatts of capacity and almost 9 hours of discharge duration, and will provide Michigan with capacity starting in the 2025 planning year. The order before us is in accordance with Consumers Energy's long-range integrated resource plan and brings clean carbon-free capacity for our state.
Commissioner Peretick, is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21090 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B4 is case number U-21193, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company requesting ex parte approval of respective power purchase agreements with Coldwater River Solar LLC and White Pine Grove Solar LLC. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21193.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21193 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B5 is case number U-21505, which involves an application filed by Indiana Michigan Power Company for ex parte approval to modify tariffs governing the provisions of outdoor security lighting and street lighting. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21505.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21505 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B6 is case number U-21565, which involves a motion filed by Northern States Power Company seeking an extension of the time to comply with Part 3 of the rate case filing requirements, attachments 2 through 12 and 14 through 17. The order before you grants the motion.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21565.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21565 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4C1 is case number U-20631, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion regarding mutual aid agreements and transmission contingency planning. The order before you summarizes the 2023 status report and directs the Commission staff to file in this docket the next status report on the ongoing recommendation, task, and topics discussed in the order no later than February 14th, 2025.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20631.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to briefly thank staff and all the parties who have been working together over the years to ensure that we're properly performing contingency planning and establishing communication and plans for mutual aid in the event that it's needed for the natural gas distribution system. The workgroup meetings held as a part of this effort have already been able to mark multiple accomplishments, including mutual aid best practice guidelines, utilization of the incident command system, interoperability between Michigan utilities, determining appropriate roles, and contemplating a template for response structures for future mutual aid events. This effort began in 2019, and the work group has filed 2 reports on their progress and recommended these discussions continue into the future. I'm thankful for our gas safety team who's been able to make progress in this important area and look forward to hearing about their continued work.
Thank you, Commissioner Peretick. Is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20631 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4C2 is case number U-21469, which involves an application filed by Simcoe Energy Gas Company requesting ex parte approval of modifications to its transportation services and tariff sheets to permit pool comprised of a single shipper and other miscellaneous tariff corrections and revisions, including its gas customer choice failure fee provisions. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21469.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21469 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4C3 is case number U-21545, which involves an application filed by Median Energy Corp. To become a licensed alternative gas supplier. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21545.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21545 is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is a presentation on the Commission's Reliability Data webpage launch, and I recognize Nick Evans, Manager of the Electric Operations Section in the Commission's Energy Operations Division. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'm Nicholas Evans. I'm manager of the Electric Operations Section, and I'm here to talk about the Reliability webpage update.
Maybe.
Okay, it responded. It may jump forward a few slides. Okay, so this started with an order in 2022 in case number U-21122, where the Commission found it would be beneficial to have a dedicated and publicly accessible set of resources on the topics of distribution system reliability, customer outages, and storm response. And that set of resources took the form of a web page, which staff was to develop and place within the Commission's existing website that would discuss those topics. The Commission envisioned this web page being a resource for ratepayers and interested persons that would display the latest information and data related to distribution reliability, which would greatly increase transparency for customers. The Commission also envisioned consolidating some data that was already being submitted by the utilities and filed by staff, and requiring the filing of additional data from the electric utilities. The Commission directed staff to work with the utilities to develop a reporting template for the filing of this additional information regarding reliability, outages, and storm response. And this template would inform and provide data for the web page. And the Commission found in the order that the granularity of data by zip code is useful, and that future data should contain the ability to be aggregated by circuit, zip code, and census tract. So first thing we started doing was developing this reporting template, and staff worked with the 7 investor-owned utilities throughout 2022 to develop this template. It's essentially a giant spreadsheet, and a PDF version was filed in the docket on November 18th of 2022, along with an information page. And I'm not going to go through the whole template because it is multiple pages and quite lengthy, but there is a screenshot showing a small portion of it at the bottom of this slide. So basically, the investor-owned utilities enter data into this spreadsheet, and then they submit it to the MPSC staff. Between the time it was filed in the docket and March of the following year, our IT section made some very helpful technical refinements to get it ready to be used by the utilities, and it was sent out to the utilities for their use in April of last year, and we got our first set of completed and filled out templates in May. The utilities submit the data on a quarterly basis, and we receive it in February, May, August, and November of each year. Occasionally, we get requests for those completed templates, those completed spreadsheets, and the email address to request that data is shown there. As time goes on, we find very minor issues with the spreadsheet, so we're always making small refinements and changes, and we're also adding from time to time new sections for new reporting requirements. We have one full year of data now, which is all of 2023, and the next set of data for the first quarter of 2024 is due to be submitted next month. The web pages, once again, the Commission directed staff to develop a web page within the Commission's existing website dedicated to distribution system reliability, customer outages, and storm response. And pretty much in parallel with developing this template, we were developing a web page, and that did go live in the spring of last year. Very recently, though, a couple weeks ago, interactive charts were added to a section of the web page called the Distribution System Reliability page, and that actually uses the data gathered through the reporting template. So it's actually grabbing all this data we've been collecting and uses it to populate new tables, graphs, and charts. So this, if you go onto the Commission's website and you go to a certain section called, it's in the Electricity tab, you'll see a part called Electric Reliability in Michigan, and it's got five sections shown there. Preparing for and responding to power outages, customer outage history, distribution system reliability metrics, which I mentioned earlier, and then distribution system reliability rules and reports, and then the DTE Electric 4.8 kV technical conference. And I'm going to quickly go through 3 of those and then spend more time on the distribution system reliability metrics. If you want to go straight to the reliability page, there's a web link shown at the bottom here. There it is. All right. Okay, so this is the electricity page, which has the electric reliability section. Preparing for and responding to power outages. There's a section here on preparation for a power outage, and there's checklists here and other resources. There's also reporting an outage. It's got the electric utilities, addresses and contacts, provider search, and service area maps. There's also the outage maps, which many electric utilities, I think pretty much all of them in Michigan have, including numerous municipalities, and also a section on outage history, which is the next section I'm going to go through. And this page shows outages, including some from this year, but also historical data. I want to point to this paragraph right before this table here. It says storm outage data for January 2024 through February 2024 is shown below for the utilities regulated by the MPSC. For Consumers Energy and DTE Electric, events greater than 20,000 customers are listed. For all other utilities, events greater than 7,500 are listed. So for 2024, this information does not include the winter storm that recently hit the upper peninsula. I believe it was last week. because even though there were widespread outages, none of the affected utilities, at least according to the information we received, reached that 7,500 outage threshold. And we get these numbers from the utilities directly through email, both during and immediately after the storm. This does not come from the reporting template, although the information in the reporting template should verify or update these numbers. As I mentioned before, we have historic outage information for 2019 through 2023 shown here. We also have information on outage credits and then current MPSC efforts to address reliability and customer service quality. Back and go. I'm going to skip the distribution system reliability metrics because that's got the big update, and go to distribution system reliability rules and reports. At the top, you'll see links to the service quality and reliability standards for electric distribution systems and the technical standards for electric service. And those are two rule sets that govern service quality and reliability in Michigan. And then if you look under reliability reporting here, it shows electric reliability metrics and power quality reports. Those were submitted by DTE and Consumers Energy, and you can still find the reports in those dockets, but the information is now going to be submitted in the next item, which is the Service Quality and Reliability Standards Performance Reports, which are found in U-12-270. Next, there's the DTE storm reports. After that, it shows the docket numbers for annual tree trim reports that DTE and Consumers Energy submit. And finally, there's the link for the docket for the distribution, investment, and maintenance plans. Back. The 4.8 kV technical conference, I'm not going to go through. I don't think there's been much activity with that conference in the past year, so I'm just going to go straight to the distribution system reliability metrics. Okay, so this is the page that got the update recently. It has descriptions of the three big reliability indices, which are SAIDI, SAIFI, and CAIDI. It also includes information on all weather and excluding major event days, which means excluding the big catastrophic days. I'm going to skip, this is the monthly reliability data, which is new. I'm going to skip over that for now and just quickly walk through what SAIDI, SAIFI, and CAIDI mean. SAIDI stands for the System Average Interruption Duration Index, and that represents the total number of minutes of interruption that the average customer experiences. Down here, we have two bar graphs, that show SAIDI information for the 7 investor-owned utilities. It shows quartiles, and the years shown are 2012 to 2022, and there's all weather, and then there's excluding major event days. And the same types of graphs are shown for SAIFI. SAIFI stands for the System Average Interruption Frequency Index, which represents the average number of times a customer experiences an outage during the year. Again, very similar graphs, just showing a different metric. And then CAIDI is the Customer Average Interruption Duration Index, which is the average time required to restore service. It's essentially, on average, how long are interruptions, outages. Same type of graphs shown here. And you can download the individual utility charts in CAIDI data. And now we go up to the updated information, which essentially shows more granularity data by month. I'm not going to read through all the text in the report, but the data is shown in roughly 3 groupings. There's reliability data here, and then there's outage data, and then there's customer credits due to interruptions. The reliability data, first we've got average duration, which is how long an average customer is without power. And then you've got average restoration time, which is the average amount of time it takes for a customer to have service restored. Average frequency, which is the average frequency of service interruptions. And finally, multiple outage, which is how many times a customer experiences an outage. For those of you in the industry, I think we can all see that average duration corresponds to SAIDI, average restoration time corresponds with CAIDI, average frequency corresponds with SAFE, and then the multiple outages corresponds with a metric called CME. Before I really get into this, I just want to remind everyone that the electrical grid is a complex machine, and some of this data will be revised and resubmitted as the utilities audit their data. So the first three reliability metrics are all averages, and they've been illustrated in a similar manner. So let's just click on average duration, or SAIDI. There's a landing page here. We call it a landing page, and it offers additional information about the metric. There's a description at the top here, and additional pages down below. There's the SAIDI chart and a SAIDI table. Okay. And each of these pages offers the ability to filter by utility and time range. So on the left-hand side, you can pick your utility, and you can pick a reporting period, so that users can really drill down into the data. And there's also a table here. But let me just back up. If you hit return, you can also go directly to the SAIDI table that way. You can also hit return, go to the chart, and then go straight to the table. But the point is that this data is available in table format. I've been hitting this return button over and over, and I just want to point out that this back button, or this return button, always will allow you to return to the previous page. And if you click it enough times, you'll end up at the report landing page. And I say the word report, that's just what we call this section of the web page. It's essentially, you can just think of it as the part of the web page that has this monthly data. So let me go back, and now we're back on the report landing page. And now let's take a look at the multiple outages, or the CME data. CME, of course, stands for Customers Experiencing Multiple Interruptions, and it's a count of the number of customers that experience a given number of interruptions in a month. So if you say CME 4, you're asking how many customers experienced 4 or more outages in a month. It can also be over the course of a year. This is an absolute measure, which means that the larger utilities are going to have higher numbers. And due to the nature of the data, we're not able to chart it as we would the other three reliability metrics. So let me click on the table. And if you notice on the left-hand side, there's the ability to filter by utility and also reporting period, but there's also an option to select monthly data or year-to-date data, and you can also eliminate CME 1, CME 2, CME 3 data. And if you select the year-to-date data and the last month of the year, you're going to see the overall CME data for each utility for 2023. So we're back on the landing page. And then let's look at viewing outage data. If you click on outage restoration, you can see the outage restoration percent at various conditions, normal conditions, gray sky conditions, or catastrophic conditions. This data cannot be summarized across utilities, so the filter for utility on this one only lets you select one utility at a time. So let's just take a look at DTE here, and then let's look at a summer month. You can see that they restored within normal conditions about 86% of the time, gray sky conditions 75.5% of the time, and catastrophic conditions 84.5% of the time. As with the CME data, the year-to-date results on the last month of the year will show the overall restoration numbers for the year. Okay. Actually, let me go back. Outage causes will show the causes of various outages, and these can be summarized across all utilities, but the filters, again, the same, utility and reporting period, will let you zero in on the individual utilities and reporting periods. All right, so let me go and let's look at the outage credits. Customers eligible will allow you to view how many customers are eligible for credits in a given month. And in addition to these two familiar filters on the left, you've got one below for catastrophic, gray sky, normal, and then the repetitive outage credits. And that lets you see the information by the conditions under which the outage occurred. So for catastrophic, and let's do consumers' energy, and that is the number of consumers' energy customers eligible for outage credits over the course of a year. And then the definitions for the outage types appear on the right. So catastrophic, it says customer credits provided for failure to restore service within 96 hours of the start of sustained interruptions that happened during catastrophic conditions. And then we're going to go to credits issued. I'll go this route. And this page illustrates the credits that have been issued during the month. And this chart is going to trail the customer eligibility chart, which we just looked at, since credits can take up to 90 days to be issued to customers. Go back to the landing page here. Right. And that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Any questions? I've got some comments, but I don't know that I've got
Okay.
questions.
Just comments. Okay, thanks. I'd like to just, first of all, just commend all the staff who spent the last year plus working on this project. I know it has not been a simple task to gather, verify, and then find an accessible way to display all of this information publicly on our website. As you saw from Nick's presentation just now, it is a lot of data, but I'm very excited about the benefits that it can provide. I believe that transparency and public accessibility is truly paramount to our work in the public interest. This new section of our website now allows all Michigan customers to see their own reliability, analyze trends themselves, and make comparisons however they want. Now, customers who pay for their electricity bills have just as much accessibility to the reliability as we do, basically. So increasing transparency increases accountability, both to the utilities, but also to us. We may not love all the results that are displayed on this webpage, but I believe that increasing this accessibility to this data will also increase the quality and the quantity of solutions that we can come up with and then ultimately implement. This is a first in the country level of detail made available to the public, and I'm really proud to be in a position to make this all available today.
Commissioner Peretick. Commissioner Carrion?
Sure, yes. I also want to echo Commissioner Peretick's thanks. This excellent presentation, Nick. Excellent work on behalf of everyone who contributed to this. This is sort of a hybrid question comment. So I guess my comment is I did want to point out how often it's apparent that the team put in concerted effort to ensure that, along with technical terms, there are definitions to ensure that anyone who's using the site can understand what they're looking at. So I did want to point that out, and I guess just kind of as an open question, since now you've collected the data over this data over a year and have some insights. Is there anything else that you might say could be useful for a member of the public who isn't as familiar with the technical data presented here that you just might want to offer as a useful starting point, or a way that they could use this in terms of accessing this now more transparent data, since this is so brand new? Just like a tip if you had any.
Well, I mean, obviously they can look up their utility and see how the reliability is improving, or maybe not improving, over the past year. If they really want to get into what their reliability looks like in their neighborhood, they can request the data spreadsheets using that email address on an earlier slide. And that, it's certainly if they're a consumers or DTE customer, they can look up their zip code, or if they know their census tract, and they can see what their reliability statistics look like. And of course, if they're having difficulty, interpreting the spreadsheet, staff is always available to help over a phone call or exchanging emails.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
And just, I guess in closing, I want to echo the complimentary remarks from both of my colleagues, but also to thank the two of you for your leadership in pushing this process forward. This really has been an effort across the whole of the commission. Multiple divisions and sections, electric operations, obviously, our IT team and administrative services, communications and strategic operations, customer assistance, just a broad swath of the utility focused on this. And I fully agree, the idea behind transparency driving solutions, and the old maxim that sunshine is the best disinfectant, I think, applies here as well. And I would certainly agree that that this doesn't paint the best picture, which is not a surprise, but I think underscores some of the pain points around the duration of outages when they happen, the customers experiencing multiple outages. But I believe that the data that we've received, and it does start with data, has helped to shape the actions taken by the Commission to date, including our technical conferences, updated service quality rules and technical standards, the first of its kind audit that's ongoing, support for targeted funding and ring fencing for vegetation management, tree trimming, and other distribution investments, and new efforts to better tie the utility's financial performance to the reliability performance that their customers experience. But as this data shows, we still have much work to do. And I think the transparency that's at the heart of the data provided publicly through this new set of web interfaces can help inform the public on the state of distribution reliability in Michigan, make utility customers full partners in pushing for increased reliability, and motivate continued efforts that are centered on improving our distribution performance. So again, thanks, Nick, to you and to the many, many folks across the whole of the Commission who have been involved, and to my colleagues as well for helping to drive this. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the Commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we will take public comments in the following order. First, from individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, who have entered the speaker queue. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions at this point. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share, so that we have it for our records. And again, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. I have, I think, 4 cards up front, so we'll go in the order that I have these, and I will call the first person and tell the second person who is on deck, and then if there are others who would like to provide comment who haven't submitted a card yet, you can find one next to Mr. Evans. We'd love to hear from you as well. So Carol Sanborn, who knows that she's first, is at the mic, and then Val Walscheid Brennan is on deck. Ms. Sanborn, it's good to see you again.
Is this on, or do I have to?
Yeah, you're good.
On. Okay, I'm Carol Sanborn. I live at 4550 North Hubbardson Road, Pewamo. I live near the Maple River in Lebanon Township, Clinton County, and I'm here once again to speak out against the MPSCU 21471 ITC Nelson Road to Oneida 345 kilovolt electrical monopole project invading my family's prime agricultural property and home. I encourage people to fight back by signing the petitions to take back local control from the state by going to mycitizenschoice.org for more information and to find a petition to sign. The state never should have taken control away from the people. The state should be listening to the people, not telling the people what the state wants done. The people do not want wind and solar and EVs. None of this is clean and green. I also encourage everyone to go to axmytax.org. The government is wasting so much of our tax dollars, and the people are sick of it. The main objective of Ax My Tax is to keep private property privately owned by completely eliminating property tax. No one should lose their home or land because they can't pay the ever-increasing property taxes. Why do the Chinese companies get paid our tax dollars to come to the U.S., and the cherry on top is that they also don't have to pay property taxes? This is not right. The people need to fight back. ITC is breaking the law by not providing 2 routes. Once the 2 routes merge on Saline's Harz property, it goes down to one line. This is breaking Public Act 30. This is not right. Laws are made to be kept, not broken. I have begged you not to route through our neighborhood due to the bad health effects of a massively powerful electrical line, 1 football field's length from our home, the devaluation of our property that will take place due to these lines, possible Indian burial grounds on our property and neighboring property, and the newly installed field tile that costed us a fortune to install that will be ruined by the heavy equipment, and the fact that they will be building through wetlands and killing endangered wildlife species. We have suggested at least 2 different routes for ITC to take, and I've not heard that my pleas have affected any change. It's falling on deaf ears. No one seems to care that it took my husband 40 years of working 18-hour days of back-breaking labor as a dairyman to gain what we have, and it is going to be destroyed, all for the greater good. This is not for my family's greater good, who came to our rescue 15 years ago when Consumers Power didn't keep the lines clear through the state land. We had to use our own money to buy our own generator. Let everyone else buy a generator. But these ginormous lines straight through state land, which is the people's land, do not put it through our privately owned land. These electrical companies should work together and use easements already captured instead of blazing through prime agricultural land. I am begging you not to approve of this project as it is currently planned. As I was talking earlier today, you can't sleep at night, you can't concentrate on your job during the day. This is already affecting my family, and I am not normally an emotional person, but as you can see, it's very upsetting.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. Val Walscheid, and then Kevin Davis.
Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me speak today. My name is Val Walscheid Brennan. I'm here again today regarding case U-21471 in the matter of METSI's request for a certificate of public need and necessity to construct the ITC Nelson to Oneida Road Transmission Project. The project is disproportionately affecting my entire family, all of our properties, including our registered historical Centennial Farm in Eagle Township. I would like to express my extreme concern with METSI's application for abandoned plant incentive rate under FERC ER 24-1482. Page 5 of this application states that the project was selected as part of the MISO long-range transmission planning because the project would, quote, reduce loading and avoid future reliability upgrades, avoiding the cost for replacing facilities due to age and condition, end quote. ITC is admitting that they are avoiding upgrading and replacing their existing infrastructure. This does not meet the requirements for a certificate of public need and necessity for case 21471. Granting ITC that certificate would be unethical. Condemning hundreds of properties is unethical because ITC won't upgrade their existing facilities in existing right-of-ways. ITC wants a luxury tie line and return on equity at the expense of Michigan's ratepayers. This application for abandoned plant incentive rate will drive up ratepayer costs to refund METSI's poorly planned project that they cannot prove they need. In their application, their engineer's testimony admits the high risk and cost of this project. METSI and their investors should be held accountable. They are a for-profit company. They're attempting to steal from property owners and ratepayers.
They should be required to upgrade the capacity of their existing infrastructure instead of ruining the lives of hundreds of Michiganders. I'm asking the MPSC commissioners and staff to deny METC's Certificate of Need and Necessity for the ITC Nelson to Oneida Road project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Walscheid-Brennan. Kevin Davis, and then Elizabeth Price.
Honorable Commissioners, I am Kevin Davis. I live near Kalamazoo. I am here representing the West Michigan section of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. I am the PACE chair of the section. PACE is Professional Activities Committee for Engineers. I am here to ask that the Commission consider an early summer presentation near Kalamazoo or Grand Rapids to our members and their guests. IEEE is the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. In the past, Consumers Energy has been gracious to have hosted tours for our members of the Ludington Pump Storage Plant and Palisades Nuclear Plant, along with numerous other electrical generation facilities. We typically have some of our university student members also in attendance. In October 2022, the section hosted Timothy Sparks, professional engineer, senior member of IEEE, and vice president of electric supply for Consumers Energy. At that time, our section included 5 members that had identified Consumers Energy as their employer. 72 of our 471 members declared power, energy, and industrial applications as their technology focus area. 48 members declared that they worked in power production, generation, transmission, and distribution. 70 people, members and students, attended this section meeting. We note that the PSC held a public hearing March 4 in Detroit on implementation of the state's 2023 energy laws to get input on its work to implement changes made to the state's energy laws in 2023. Our members are vitally interested in these topics, and thus the West Michigan section, IEEE invites one or more PSC speakers to provide an overview of these laws with questions and answer session to follow. In addition to a presentation of regulatory topics, additional relevant technical and economic depth is welcome. I encourage this outreach by the MPSC to the geographic units of other professional, scientific, engineering, and technical societies to complement Public Act 231, which, quote, directs the Commission to open a proceeding to consider opportunities to expand opportunities for engagement in the Commission's decision-making processes and procedures, end quote. In close, I thank my West Michigan Section IEEE Executive Committee colleagues and Mackinac Power's President Rich Vanderveen for their support in initiating and producing this invitation to present before the members of the West Michigan Section IEEE.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And I have your contact information. I appreciate the invitation. Elizabeth Price.
Thank you for allowing me to address the board. My name is Elizabeth Price, and I live in Oneida Township on the alternate route proposed for those high-powered lines from Oneida to Nelson Substation. I have many concerns regarding this project, but I will address only 2 today. First, the close proximity of my home to the power lines and how it may compromise my health. I own 22 acres of land on St. Joe Highway. 16 are tillable, farmed yearly. A small portion is a wood stand, and the rest is the area which surrounds my house and outbuildings. I have lived on my farm for the last 52 years, and my hope is to die there. Consumers Power owns a 132-foot strip along the property line where the power line would be placed. My house sets 223 feet from that power line. I'm aware that there are no universal standards for the acceptable, safe distance from the power line, and that EMF levels increase with the amount of energy flowing through the line and decrease with distance. However, 300 feet is the distance commonly believed to drop EMF amount to background levels. That said, my entire home and my yard falls within that area, less than 300 feet. And unlike the worker who is working on the line or the casual walker who might pass under the line and can limit their exposure, I will be exposed 24/7 to high levels of EMFs. I enjoy working in my yard in the summer. I have a gazebo where I entertain both in warm and cold weather. And I have a big dog pen where I exercise my dogs year-round. All of this within that 300 feet. My other concern is I have a heart condition that requires a pacemaker. So my everyday, all day will be spent less than 300 feet from that line. The belief that living near high-powered lines is dangerous has been around for generations. In 2006, the Medical College of Wisconsin conducted a meta-analysis on the subject, and their results revealed that 46% of the study found exposure to high-power frequency had no effect on subjects, but 22% found that exposure resulted in DNA change, and 32% of the studies were totally inconclusive. If the studies are to be believed, we have to conclude that there is a possibility that chronic exposure to EMF radiation is not healthy. When 1 in 5 individuals experienced detrimental health effects, and 1/3 of the studies were inconclusive, one wonders what the outcome might be as those studies continue. Now, personally, I'm not concerned about my DNA or my cancer risk because of my age, my cells are dividing so slowly, it's not a concern. Something else is going to kill me. But I am concerned about the EMF exposure on my heart function and my pacemaker. A 2015 study at the University of Montreal found that high electrical fields may interfere with the normal functioning of cardiac devices. So individuals with internal heart rate monitors must seek the advice of electrophysiologists to determine if they might be at increased risk to this exposure. It would seem to me to be enough unknown to rethink the prevailing wisdom. I am reminded that in the 40s and the 50s, cigarettes were not considered harmful. In fact, they were advertised by doctors as good for your health. They reduced your anxiety and they helped you lose weight. How much research had to be done and how many people had to be harmed before the correlation between smoking and cancer was identified? It wasn't until 1965 that the government mandated a warning be placed on every package of cigarettes. In all of my review, I have not found one research study on the health effects of EMF exposure that did not end with the statement, this subject requires more study. Now, I'm not doubting the need for more transmission lines, but I am asking that as you proceed, you err on the side of caution and ensure that they are placed, as some might suggest, 700 to 1,000 feet from any residence or place of business. My second reason I'm objecting to the high power lines is purely personal. There are no wetlands or historical sites on my property. I simply love my home and have spent 52 years there, creating a legacy for my children and my grandchildren to inherit. Placing the power line on the alternate route will negatively impact my property value. The value of my property could plummet between 10 to 40%. Why do people buy property in the country? For the view, for being close to nature, for listening to the frog peepers in the spring, but not to see a huge, ugly tower or be subject to the constant buzzing of a high power line. And if I needed to sell my house, most real estate agents will tell a prospective buyer there are only 3 reasons to buy a home near a high power line. 1 is you plan to use it as a rental. 2, you bought it at a fire sale. Or 3, you're looking for tax write-offs. For 52 years, I have worked to create a home that complements my neighborhood and that speaks of the person who lives there. Now, in my 80s, I feel I have accomplished that goal. In closing, I would like to go on record as someone who doesn't want either route used. I recognize the need, but am confounded by the fact that these lines run by homes and through good farmland that can be taken by eminent domain, when states like Minnesota and Wisconsin run high power lines along highways where they already own the right-of-way, or better yet, they bury them. I have talked to individuals who are on the proposed route and find it very uncomfortable to be pitted against my neighbors. The real issue seems to be with a system that does not appear to be looking hard enough for creative ways to bring needed energy to homes and businesses. Thank you for listening, and I hope we can continue to maintain open communication on this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Do we have any additional individuals attending in person who would like to make public comment at this time? Don't believe that we have anybody online or in the phone with the phone option who's queued up either. So at this point, we will close the public comment period, but please note that the public may continue to submit comments to the commissioners via email at mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. And again, that email address is also included in the public notice for the meeting. Do either of you have any announcements today? Okay. Well, that will conclude today's meeting. Our next regular commission meeting is scheduled 2 weeks from today, Thursday, April 25th, 2024 at 1:00 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
We'll now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.